First. Trouble. Source: ChatGPT. Worry usually refers to an emotional or mental state that manifests as feelings of distress, uneasiness, anxiety, or doubt. This may be due to various stresses, difficulties, challenges in life, or emotional discomfort caused by problems in relationships, work, health, etc. Troubles are part of human emotions, and everyone may experience varying degrees of them in their lives. These distresses can be short-term or long-term, depending on what triggers them and the individual's ability to deal with them. Sometimes, how one recognizes and responds to troubles can affect an individual's mental health. People may relieve their worries by communicating with friends and family, seeking professional psychological counseling, learning ways to cope with stress, or through rest, entertainment, exercise, etc. Importantly, understanding your emotional state and seeking appropriate support can help you deal with distress and maintain your mental health. Source: Wikipedia. Annoyance, English: annoyance, is an inner emotion that can cause people to feel anxious, uneasy, and unhappy. It usually originates from regret about the past, dissatisfaction with the current situation, or expectations for the future. It is an emotion that arises after conscious thinking. It can cause individuals to have negative emotions such as irritability, depression, and pain. Second. No response practice. Source: ChatGPT. Non-reactive practice is usually a psychological or spiritual practice concept that emphasizes staying calm and observing rather than reacting immediately when faced with various emotions or thoughts. The purpose of this practice is to develop the ability to observe one's inner state rather than being swayed by emotions or thoughts. Specifically, non-response practice may include the following elements: observation, focusing your attention on current feelings, emotions, or thoughts without immediately commenting or responding. Acceptance, accepting the current inner state without trying to change it or react to it. Detachment, not clinging to an emotion or thought, allowing them to come and go without getting stuck in them. This practice is often associated with mindfulness, a technique for focusing attention in the present moment and aiming to develop sensitivity to current experiences and to accept these experiences with a non-judgmental attitude. Through non-reaction practices, people can learn to better cope with stress, emotional distress, and gain increased insight into their inner world. This technique is also commonly used in psychotherapy, stress management, and improving psychological flexibility. Source: S-Light. Non-reaction practice, eliminate worries and clear your inner thinking. All troubles begin with unnecessary reactions. The Buddha reminded us 2,500 years ago. Facing the commotion and gaze from the outside world, we must learn to don't read back. Start practicing now to let strength emerge, make your heart strong, comfortable and happy. No one on Japan's Amazon bestseller list. It's simply a textbook on how to survive. Better than any other inspirational book. Readers highly recommend it. Life is not easy at all. But as long as you learn not to make unnecessary reactions, it can completely solve all your worries. A monk who believes that Buddhism is not a religion but a way to help improve your life. Let you not dance with the environment and embrace a life that is free and easy for you. When others say something bad about you, you can't help but fight back. Do you often like, respond or post pictures on FB, Line, or social networking sites? Do you have many meaningless reactions every day and let your mood fluctuate? All troubles begin with one's own reactions. Understanding this is the first step to solving troubles. Master Kusanagi, known as the famous monk of Todai in Japan, is determined to spread Buddhist thinking that helps improve life. He believes that as long as he practices don't react to unfriendly things under any circumstances and use the right way of thinking to solve worries every day, he can make his life more peaceful, satisfying and happy. Stop judging good and bad and like and dislike. Never deny yourself at any time. The pursued heart makes people repeatedly satisfied and dissatisfied, creating a flood of reincarnation. Cleverly get rid of delusions and make use of desires. The three major worries, are they actually super convenient tools? Preface. Think this way and easily eliminate all worries. Chapter 1. Understand before reacting. Don't try to get rid of trouble, but understand it. Just understanding the troubles can take the first step. Bright prescription notes make everything easy to solve. What is the real cause of troubles at work and in relationships? Wisdom from 2,500 years ago can also help with current problems. Focus on the why of the problem. Buddha used rapid water to describe real life. How to deal with dissatisfied mind. Even so, what's the point? The day when troubles turned into hopes. Just really observe your inner state. 1. Use words to confirm your inner state. 2. Feel the body's feelings. 3. Classify in your mind. A clever way to get rid of delusions. Develop the habit of cleaning up your mind while walking. The three major worries, are they actually super convenient tools? Chapter 2. Don't judge good or bad. Do you often make unnecessary judgments? Stop judging good and bad and like and dislike. Does pretending to understand make you happy? Judgment is sometimes very poisonous. The heart should be like a gurgling little river. Don't mistakenly believe that something that doesn't exist exists. Ways to let go of pain. Beware of the heart disease called slowness. Just think, would it be helpful to you? Try to get rid of the thought I'm right. Freedom from unconscious judgments. 1. I made a judgment. Discovering the language of judgment. 2. Think I am myself. 3. Pledge to become a frank person. Never deny yourself at any time. The one who gets angry is self. Practice recovering a free heart. 1. Go outdoors and walk step by step. 2. Look around the vast world. 3. I am sure of myself. Once you stop judging, life can unfold smoothly. How to develop real self-confidence. Needing self-confidence is completely unreasonable. What can you do now? Get rid of the idea that you have to work hard now. Just accumulate experience first. Chapter 3. Not victimized by negative emotional influences. Neither heightens nor suppresses emotions. First, let's organize people's troubles. Not reacting is the greatest victory. Push it to the other person is the foundation of interpersonal relationships. This will cut your worries in half. Why do gangsters also shed tears of men? How to deal with difficult people. Don't judge other people's affairs. Forget the past, don't react to memories. The other person is always the person we meet for the first time. Let's understand together with the other person. The direction of life considered by Buddhism. The big principle, just care about the quick reaction in your heart. Is it okay to pursue your desires? Utilize desire. Increase inner happiness and reduce unhappiness. Chapter 4. Get out of the sight of others and restore freedom. Don't follow other people's opinions. The real reason for care about other people's eyes. Don't accept the whims of your mind delusions. Leave things behind that you don't intend to confirm. Keep your distance from depressed people. Why always anxious? How to prevent anger from becoming rebirth. A way to eliminate years of worries in one fell swoop. No more comparisons. Focus on your own business. Comparison is an unreasonable way of thinking. What is the correct effort that will definitely achieve the goal? Improvement, focus, satisfaction. The effectiveness of Zen temple labor. The Zen wisdom of focusing on one's own affairs. What is working without intention and working with dedication? Chapter 5. Correct competition. Competition may be a delusion. Understand the mechanism of competition. Misunderstanding victory tastes sweet. There is no complete winner, so prepare before competing. Zen monk's teaching, it is better to close your eyes and observe. If it were Buddha, he would have said, wake up quickly. Prepare the right motivation. The four immeasurable minds that can perfectly solve interpersonal relationships. The foundation for creating a praiseworthy life. The world changes because everyone works together. The powerful power of loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Hope it helps others. Pay attention to the 5 obstacles. Points to note that hinder life. Grow every day, how to deal with the 5 obstacles. Life equals correct efforts minus 5 obstacles. Free yourself from the thought of failed. Present tense jealousy, past tense inferiority complex. Take care of your feet, only take care of your own feet. The possibility of having other roles. Born in the world, but not polluted by the world. Final chapter, holding the benchmark for thinking. Recover the right heart. No matter how many times. How to achieve a stable state of life can be satisfied just like this. The reliable reliance of life, Dharma. You must rely on yourself first. Buddha's stern reminder. Step out, return, keep going. Never forget the right direction. Did the Buddha actually think super negatively? Pursue the highest understanding as the goal. Trust your own life. Any trouble can be overcome. We will definitely reach the destination. 3rd. Ryuho Shun Kusanagi. Source: City Reading Garden. A Buddhist monk, he is known as the famous monk of the East and is the person in charge of the Buddhist church Xingdao no Arai. Born in 1969 in Nara Prefecture, Japan. After dropping out of junior high school, he left home and went to Tokyo when he was 16 years old. He passed the high school academic test by self-study and graduated from the University of Tokyo Law School. While working, he explored the way to survive. Later, he followed the Indian Buddhist guidance monk master Shure Sesai, became a monk in India, and converted to Buddhism. He went to monasteries and universities in Myanmar and Thailand to study classics, and completed specialized courses at the National Buddhist University of Myanmar. Buddhist monk, head of the Buddhist church Xingdao's Hilly. After dropping out of junior high school, he left home and moved to Tokyo at the age of 16. He passed the high school academic test by self-study and was admitted to the law school of the University of Tokyo. After graduation, he worked in a think tank company while thinking about his lifestyle. He decided to become a monk at the age of 35 and completed a specialized course at the National Buddhist University of Myanmar. Currently running social improvement non-governmental organizations, kindergartens, and primary schools in India. He is not affiliated with any Buddhist sect, but strives to promote Buddhism as a reasonable method that helps improve life. He travels around Japan and holds Dharma activities such as Buddhist discussions or classic recitations. He is the author of the best-selling books The Exercise of Non-Reaction and When Feeling the Balls of Your Feet When You're Angry. Don't worry, even the Buddha is worried about his family, Forgive Yourself and Your Life Will Be Free and other books. His philosophy is unique, promoting Buddhism as a method that helps improve life rather than as a religion. The colorful Buddhist lifestyle, the adult private pad where various topics are discussed, and the Zazen meditation practice that introduces body movements, etc., create various new activities that grasp the essence of Buddhism and are extremely popular. In addition, his easy-to-understand and interesting Buddhist topics have been well received, and more cultural institutions, companies, schools, and local governments have invited him to give lectures or study. Features: a simple monk without a sect, temple, or family. The policy is not to discuss Buddhism in practice and not to talk about Buddhism as a religion. The basis of thought is original Buddhism, the reasonable thoughts and meditation methods spread by the Buddha. 4th. Primitive Buddhism. Source: ChatGPT. Primitive Buddhism refers to the early form of Buddhism, the teachings and practices taught by the Buddha, also known as Gautama Buddha, between the 6th and 5th centuries BC. Buddhism during this period was formed in India and later divided into many different schools. The following are some of the main characteristics of primitive Buddhism. 4 Noble Truths, the Buddha's teachings are centered on the Four Noble Truths, which include the truth of suffering, pain and difficulty in life, the truth of origin, the origin of suffering, the truth of cessation, the way to end suffering, and the truth of path. Truth, the Eightfold Path to the end of suffering. Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the practical guide of Buddhism, including right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. By following the Eightfold Path, one can move toward liberation and enlightenment. Dependent origination. This is the Buddha's explanation of the cycle of life and death, emphasizing that all phenomena and existence exist due to the interdependence of various conditions. Impermanence. Primitive Buddhism emphasizes the impermanence of all things, that is, all phenomena are constantly changing. Anatta. Original Buddhist teachings deny the eternal existence of the individual soul and believe that the individual is composed of the five impermanent aggregates: form, feeling, thought, action, and consciousness. The teachings of primitive Buddhism later evolved into different schools of Buddhism, such as Theravada and Mahayana. These schools differ in doctrine and practice, but all recognize the basic teachings of the Buddha. Source: Wikipedia. Primitive Buddhism, English, Original Buddhism, Primitive Buddhism, a Buddhist research term, refers to the period of history before Sakyamuni began to preach and establish the Sangha until the formation of sects of Buddhism. This term was first used by Japanese Buddhist circles. Modern Buddhist researchers study Buddhism from a historical perspective. However, because scholars use different definitions and names, the term Primitive Buddhism is highly controversial and is often used interchangeably with Early Buddhism and Fundamental Buddhism. Generally speaking, these terms refer to the period before Buddhist sects began to differentiate. Some scholars also refer to this period as pre-sectarian Buddhism. This period is divided into two periods: one is from the time when the Buddha lived to the time of his death, and the other is from the time after the death of the Buddha to before the division of the sect in the time of King Ashoka. Broadly speaking, these two stages are called Primitive Buddhism. Some scholars advocate subdivision and call the first stage Fundamental Buddhism, also known as the Earliest Buddhism, English, the Earliest Buddhism, and the Buddha's Buddhism, Buddhism of the Buddha himself. The second period is Primitive Buddhism in a narrow sense. Some scholars believe that it is difficult to distinguish between the two periods in the literature and argue that there is no need to subdivide them. Buddhist researchers mainly use comparative philology, linguistics, and archaeological data to compare documents from different sects and explore the common sayings in the documents of these sects. They hope that through this kind of research, they can restore the earliest stages of Buddhism, understand the origins of disputes and divisions between sects, and understand the development of Buddhism in history. 5th. Writer. Source: ChatGPT. Writer refers to a person who is engaged in writing, usually an author, writer, litterateur, scholar, etc. These people are committed to creating various written content, including novels, poems, essays, academic papers, etc., to express ideas, narrate stories, convey knowledge, etc. Writers can cover a variety of fields, including literature, philosophy, history, science, religion, etc. Their works may appear in different media such as books, magazines, newspapers, websites, etc. The work of writers is diverse. They may be active as novelists, poets, historians, scientists, columnists, etc. The works of writers can influence society, culture, knowledge, and art, and have a profound impact on people's thoughts and values. Source: Ancient Poems Network. Description of books written. 6th. Buddha's thinking eliminates worries. Source: ChatGPT. The Buddha's teachings emphasize the elimination of defilements through correct understanding, contemplation, and practice. Here are some basic Buddhist ideas and methods to help understand and deal with defilements. Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering. the Buddha stated that suffering and difficulty exist in life and are inevitable. Collection of truths. The root cause of trouble and suffering comes from the troubles of greed, hatred, and ignorance. The truth of cessation. Troubles can be eliminated and liberation and enlightenment can be achieved. Taoist truth. The Eightfold Path is the correct path to liberation, including right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Eightfold Path. Right mindfulness. Pay attention to the present moment, accept the facts without attachment or resistance. Right concentration. Concentrate the mind, cultivate a calm state of mind, and eliminate delusions. Impermanence. The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent, including defilements. Being aware of impermanence helps to let go of attachments because everything is changing. Anatta. The Buddha's teachings emphasize anatta, that is, the individual is impermanent and condition-dependent, and does not have an eternal self. Compassion and loving kindness. The Buddha taught compassion and loving kindness, and one should develop compassion for oneself and others, which helps reduce worries. By incorporating these thoughts into their daily lives, practicing the Eightfold Path, and practicing mindfulness and compassion, those who follow Buddhism believe that such practices can help reduce, resolve, and even eliminate worries, ultimately achieving liberation and inner peace. This practice is a gradual process that requires long-term effort and contemplation. Source: Dharma Drum Culture. Ryo Shun Kusanagi tells us that 99% of the troubles in life are unnecessary. The world is not complicated, it is people who make everything complicated, because our hearts are constantly thinking and overthinking, full of thoughts about the past, attachment and worldly pursuits. The mindfulness practice proposed by Mr. Kusanagi can turn excessive thinking into positive thinking, and can also eliminate delusions and negative emotions in the mind. He integrates the essence of Buddhism into life and proposes practical methods that everyone can do. 1000 Step Zen. Walk 1000 steps every day. Through practical and simple walking, you can ease your emotions and thoughts. Label: name your emotions, allowing you to look at reality objectively, get rid of negative energy, and focus on the present. Non-reaction: not reacting to the outside world, not being attached. Not being attached is the first step in mindfulness practice. The reason why we are so troubled may be that we are temporarily blinded, or indulge in self-pity, or refuse to face the truth and pain. Ryo Shun Kusanagi advocates the soul cleansing technique, which is organized into 5 keywords: pause, eradicate, stay, rebuild, and transcend, symbolizing the 5 states of mind and stages. He tells us that as long as we suspend unnecessary inner theater, eliminate unnecessary distractions, and focus on our inner stability, we can rebuild our determination, overcome real problems, and live a happy life. The ultimate goal of mind cleansing is to help us get rid of pain, trouble, confusion, delusion, persistence, regret and anger. As long as you follow the practical methods in the book and practice reducing emotional reactions in life, you can slowly change your mentality towards things and live each day calmly. 7th. Causality. Source: ChatGPT. Causality is a philosophical and religious perspective that emphasizes that all events and phenomena have causes and consequences. This concept holds that everything in the world happens in a series of causes and effects, and that every event is the result of previous events and the cause of future events. The theory of cause and effect is found in many different cultures and religious traditions, including Buddhism, Hinduism, Jesus Christ, Islam, and others. Here are some of the main ideas of causality. Cause and effect chain. Karma in Hinduism and Buddhism, cause and effect chain is a core concept, which refers to the behavior and actions of individuals that will produce corresponding results. This result may be manifested in the current life or in the future life. Karmic force, associated with the chain of cause and effect is karma, which represents the force generated by an individual through his or her actions. This karma will affect the individual's future and afterlife. Concept of destiny. In some religious and philosophical systems, causality is interpreted as part of destiny, believing that everyone's fate is determined by their past actions. Religious ethics. The theory of cause and effect is regarded as an ethical basis in many religions, encouraging people to behave correctly and pursue kindness and morality. Natural law. In some philosophical systems, causality is regarded as a natural law, a natural operating law that is not subject to human control. In general, causal theory emphasizes a universal causal connection and believes that every action and event has its causes and consequences. This perspective has important implications for explaining individual destiny, ethical behavior, and the functioning of the world. Source: Wikipedia. Causality, Sanskrit, Hechuphala, in Buddhism, is a theory that discusses the operating rules of karma and karma, hechu, pakaya, kama, vipaka, or fruit phala. Buddhism believes that the law of cause and effect exists naturally. It does not apply to a person just because he or she thinks it does not exist. The karma created is the cause. Karma refers to the behavior, not necessarily one of the cause or the effect, and the retribution is the effect. The cause and effect come and go, which is called karma or karma. Cause and effect connects the past, present and future, which is called cause and effect in 3 generations. 8th. Buddha. Source: ChatGPT. Buddha, also known as Siddhartha Gautama, is the founder of Buddhism. He was born in India in the 6th century BC or the 5th century BC. There are different opinions on the specific year of birth. The life story of Buddha mainly relies on the records of Buddhist scriptures and traditions, so there are some legendary elements. Here is some basic information about Buddha. Birth: the Buddha's real name was Prince Sarotivara, and he was born in the Nagarjuna Garden in the Kingdom of Nepal, present-day Nepal. His father was King Siddhartha and his mother was named Maya. Enlightenment and abandonment of the throne. One morning, the Buddha witnessed old age, illness, death, and the pain of monks, and deeply felt the impermanence of life's joys and sorrows. In order to seek liberation, he left the palace, family, and secular life when he was about 30 years old, and began to seek the truth. Enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. The Buddha practiced and meditated under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya for 7 weeks. Finally, on a full moon night, he achieved enlightenment, and became the Buddha, the Awakened One. Teaching. After attaining enlightenment, Buddha began to impart his teachings, including the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. His teachings emphasized the root causes of suffering, methods of liberation, and ways of living that lead to liberation. Propagation. The Buddha spent the next few decades traveling throughout India spreading his teachings and attracting a following. One of his disciples, Ananda, recorded the Buddha's teachings, which later became one of the Buddhist scriptures. Nirvana. The Buddha attained nirvana in Kushinagar, Kapilavastu, India, around 483 BC or 400 BC, that is, his physical death, but his teachings and influence continue to influence countless people. The Buddha's teachings focused on seeking liberation, transcending suffering, and promoted compassion, love, and right living. The Buddha's influence spanned time and space, becoming one of the world's major religions, Buddhism. Source: Wikipedia. Sakyamuni, whose real name is Siddhartha Gautama, was a thinker, educator, religious figure, philosopher, Brahmin reformer, and founder of Buddhism in ancient South Asia. Sakyamuni was born into a royal family in southern Nepal and was of the Kshatriya caste. After Buddhism was introduced to China, many believers called Sakyamuni Buddha. Buddhism believes that Sakyamuni is the most noble person in the world, and his disciples and believers often call him the world-honored one. However, Buddhists believe that Buddha is not a god or a god in a religious sense, because all Buddhas are originally from human beings and are just enlightened. Classics such as the Lotus Sutra also believe that all living beings can become Buddhas, and Zenji Agama Sutra, all Buddhas and world-honored ones are born in the human world and did not come from heaven. Therefore, Buddhism is considered to be atheistic. However, with the spread of Buddhist teachings eastward, it has a long history of development in China and gradually formed Han Buddhism. It was vigorously promoted by the Chinese government during the Wei, Jin, southern and northern dynasties, and everyone from the emperor to the common people generally believed in Buddhism. The northern Wei dynasty even incorporated the image of the emperor into Buddhist statues. Emperor Wu of the southern Liang dynasty even gave up the throne many times and became a monk because of his belief in Buddhism. By the end of the Wei, Jin, southern and northern dynasties, due to the integration of Chinese Buddhism and folk beliefs, Buddhist saints had basically been deified. For example, Guanyin Bodhisattva is a very common goddess in Chinese folk beliefs, but she is actually one of the attendants of the Buddha. Amitabha Buddha and Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva are collectively known as the three saints of the West, and together with Sakyamuni Buddha and Ksatagarbha Bodhisattva, they are collectively known as the three saints of Saha. He is a very famous saint in Buddhism. The Buddha is also called the Tathagata. In the Buddhist scriptures, he is recognized as the Buddha who teaches and enlightens our world, so he calls me the Buddha. He is also respectfully called the Master Buddha. Starting from the Ming dynasty, the Han people respectfully called Sakyamuni the Tathagata Buddha or the Tathagata Buddha. In the Qing dynasty, the Manchus call Sakyamuni Buddha. 9th. Eliminate worries. Source: ChatGPT. Eliminating worries is a psychological and spiritual challenge, and there are many ways to help people cope with and alleviate their worries. Here are some suggestions. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is the technique of focusing on the present moment by observing current feelings, thoughts, and circumstances without evaluation or judgment. Mindfulness helps cultivate observation and acceptance of troubles rather than reactively getting caught up in them. Deep breathing and meditation. Deep breathing and meditation are effective ways to reduce worries. Through deep breathing, you can relax your body, and meditation can help calm your mind and let your worries fade away. Physical activity. Exercise helps release stress and tension in the body while promoting the release of happy hormones in the brain. Exercising can improve your mood and reduce anxiety and worry. Build a support system. Share your feelings with friends and family to find people who understand and support you. Sometimes sharing with others can lighten the load on the mind and gain a new perspective. Seek professional help. If needed, consider seeking professional help from psychotherapy or counseling. A psychologist, psychotherapist, or spiritual counselor can provide guidance and support to help you deal with your worries. Examine thought patterns. Pay attention to your thought patterns and evaluate whether negative or negative self-talk is present. Try to shift your thinking to find a more positive, realistic, and constructive perspective. Set goals and plans. Setting clear goals and plans can help give life direction, enhance motivation, reduce feelings of helplessness, and thereby reduce worries. Everyone's situation and circumstances are different, so what works best may vary from person to person. Choosing a method that suits you and practicing it consistently will help build stronger mental health. Ways to eliminate troubles. Master Xing Yun. Source: Buddhist Disciple Library. Have you ever counted how many troubles we have in our bodies and minds? Generally speaking, there are 84,000 demonic demons of affliction. The commander of our troubles is ourselves. Below I are the commanders of 6 legions: greed, anger, ignorance, pride, suspicion, and wrong views. Each of them leads a group of minions to annoy our body and mind. It also harms others and society. Trouble is a very scary thing. It is like a flame that wants to burn you and make all your goodness and virtue disappear. Worries are like thieves, robbing us of the little merit and wealth we possess. They are like ferocious waves, trying to kill us along with them. They are like weeds in a field, preventing the good seedlings growing in our hearts from growing smoothly. Troubles are the emotional effects produced after contact between mind and environment. Normally, our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind tend to collude with external colors, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and laws. Once there is collusion, the troubles of greed, anger, and delusion will arise. Therefore, in order to eliminate these many troubles, we must first eliminate the root causes and capture the coach who is responsible for the troubles. As the saying goes, to learn Buddhism, you must first have no self. No self does not mean destroying ourselves. No self requires us to transform our consciousness into wisdom. For example, we can turn greed into joy and equanimity, anger into compassion, and ignorance into ignorance. Wisdom, turn the false self into the true self, turn the small self into the great self. Of course, ordinary people have troubles, but some people with faith and cultivation minimize their troubles. Are you a troubled person? Here are some ways to eliminate worries. First, make friends with good teachers and avoid associating with troublesome people. Second, I often blame myself for not being promising and feel ashamed that I have so many worries. As long as you can generate righteous thoughts, your worries will disappear without a trace. Third, be kind to others, take the initiative to smile and say nice things to others, and let others praise and appreciate you, which will have the power to eliminate worries. Fourth, always put yourself in the shoes of others and treat others with tolerance and consideration. This will naturally reduce the disputes between people and yourself, and troubles will no longer arise. Fifth, work hard and keep yourself busy. This is a good way to reduce worries. Sixth, when you have troubles, you can self-examine and correct yourself. This is the bravest person. With no worries, your mind is at ease, and you live a happy life with good scenery. Troubles do not always arise from the external environment, sometimes they are self-inflicted disturbances. Generally speaking, people with a cheerful personality are more likely to get rid of worries. When a person is wronged or hit, he can think openly and let go. When faced with suffering, he should not be troubled or resentful. He can be responsible. He can be his own engineer, doctor, and sculptor, and he can naturally live without worries. Body and mind. 10th. 8 hardships in life. Source: ChatGPT. The 8 sufferings of life, also known as the 8 sufferings, are Buddhist descriptions of the 8 inevitable sufferings and difficulties in life. These sufferings are seen as phenomena experienced by individuals in reincarnation, emphasizing the impermanence of life and the painful nature. These 8 kinds of suffering are listed as part of the 4 Noble Truths of Buddhism, and their specific manifestations are as follows. Suffering of birth, old age, illness, and death. Birth itself is a kind of pain, and the ensuing aging, illness, and death are also inevitable sufferings in life. Buddhism emphasizes the impermanence of life and the changes in its process. Suffering, pleasure and pain. When people pursue happiness and pleasure, they are often accompanied by pain. Because everything is impermanent, the satisfaction you pursue is short-lived and cannot be possessed permanently. Suffering of separation from a loved one. Since all things are impermanent, people experience the pain of separation from a loved one, whether it is family, friends, possessions, or other favorite things. Unsatisfied suffering, unsatisfied desire. The pain caused by longings and desires, because the pursuit of things or situations that cannot be satisfied leads to psychological distress. 5 yin sufferings. The suffering of the 5 aggregates in Buddhism. Human life and mental activities are divided into 5 aggregates, including form aggregate, body, feeling aggregate, feeling, perception aggregate, thinking, action aggregate, volitional action, and consciousness. The interaction and changes of these 5 aggregates bring suffering. Suffering, the pursuit of existence. The pursuit of eternal existence and the idea of a fixed self is also a cause of suffering, because everything is impermanent and changing. The 5 Arhan sufferings. The suffering of the 5 aggregates refers to the sight, visual feeling, the ears hearing the sound, auditory feeling, the nose smelling the fragrance, smell feeling, the tongue tasting, taste feeling, and the body touch, tactile sensation. These feelings are also one of the causes of suffering. Suffering of impermanence, the change of all things. Buddhism emphasizes that all things are impermanent, and the knowledge of impermanence can bring unease and distress. These ideas of suffering help Buddhists think deeply about the truth of life and serve as the basis for reflection, practice, and liberation. By understanding the 8 sufferings, people are encouraged to seek a spiritual liberation beyond worldly suffering. Source: Baidu Encyclopedia. The 8 sufferings of life, also called the 8 sufferings of Buddhism, are Buddhist terms and refer to birth, old age, illness, death, not getting what you want, meeting resentments and resentments, separation from love, and the abundance of the 5 yins. The sufferings of life, the suffering of old age, the suffering of 3 diseases, the suffering of death, the suffering of not getting what you want, the suffering of meeting resentments and hatreds, the suffering of being separated from love, and the suffering from negative emotions. You should know that these 8 kinds of suffering include the suffering of outflows. Because of persecution, the truth is suffering. The truth is ignorance and love, which can be the cause of the 8 sufferings. You should know that the truth is the cause of suffering. The truth is the destruction of truth. Ignorance and love are the causes of suffering. You should know that the truth of this cessation is actually cessation, the truth of the Tao. 11th. 5 yins are blazing. Source: Baidu Encyclopedia. The 5 yin are the 5 aggregates. The 5 yin gather into the body and burn like fire, from which the first 7 sufferings arise. The color and yin are blazing, the 4 elements are out of tune, and there is suffering from disease. The yin of acceptance is blazing, and the acceptance of separation makes all the sufferings turn to the extreme. The yin of thinking is blazing, and the desire to pursue each other is accompanied by love and separation, resentment and hatred, and the suffering of not being able to seek. The active yin is blazing, causing various karma, and also being the cause of subsequent retribution. Moreover, due to the continuous flow of karma, there will be suffering from aging and aging. The yin of consciousness is blazing, causing confusion and karma. 3 lives will pass, and there will be suffering in life and death. 12th. Powerless. Source: National Institute of Education. The classic meaning is incompetent. Refers to the inability to do something well. The language version Zhou Xuan. 4 years of Yin Gong. Powerless. Original work Powerless. Zhou Xuan. According to the 4th year of Yin Gong, regicide occurred in Weiguo during the spring and autumn period. Zhuxu, the concubine of Duke Wei Zhuang, was very favored and was very brave and fierce. The doctor Shiju thought he was a dangerous person and asked Duke Zhuang to be careful, but Duke Zhuang refused to listen. Later, Zhou Su really rebelled, and together with Shi Qiu's son Shi Ho, they killed Duke Zhuang and declared themselves king. As queen, Zhuxu could not win over the people, so Shi Ho went to ask his father Shiju, a former doctor, how to stabilize Zhuxu's throne. Shi Ke said, "Just ask the king to visit foreign countries." Shi Ho asked what to do, and Shi Ke said, "Currently, the Wei state is on good terms with the Chen state, so just visit the Chen state." So Shi Ho followed Zhou Su to the state of Chen. Shi Ke hurriedly sent an envoy to the state of Chen to inform them that the 2 men were regicide traitors. He also said, "The country of Wei is young and I am old and can do nothing. It means that Weiguo is weak and my veteran is old and really incompetent. Ask Chen Qiuren to help capture them." Chen Qiuren really arrested the 2 men, and Weiguo sent envoys to kill Zhou Su, while Shi Ke sent his retainer Na Yangjian to kill his son Shi Ho to seek justice. At that time, people called Shi Ke a pure minister, a man who destroyed his relatives for his righteousness. Incompetent means inability to face things. In later generations, incompetent was often used to express inability to do something well. Also used are inability to use skills, which means the inability to use skills, inability to make plans, which means the inability to contribute strategies. 13th. Eliminate negative psychological reactions. Source: ChatGPT. Eliminating negative psychological reactions is a process that requires a systematic approach and patience. Here are some suggestions to help you deal with and reduce negative psychological reactions. Correct awareness. Pay attention to and recognize your negative thinking patterns. Try to identify these thoughts and ask yourself if you have a more positive, realistic, and constructive perspective. Mindfulness. Learn to be mindful, which is to maintain attention in the present moment and not evaluate the current experience. This can help reduce anxiety about the past or future, allowing you to better cope with current challenges. Deep breathing and meditation. Deep breathing and meditation are effective ways to reduce negative emotions. Relaxing the body through deep breathing, meditation promotes a calm and peaceful state of mind. Physical activity. Exercise is an effective way to relieve stress and promote physical and mental health. Moderate exercise can improve your mood and reduce negative emotions. Establish positive habits. Develop some positive habits, such as writing down something you are grateful for every day, which can help shift your focus and build a positive mindset. Set goals and plans. Giving yourself some clear goals and plans can help improve motivation, reduce feelings of helplessness, and thereby reduce negative psychological reactions. Seek support. Share your feelings with family and friends and seek support. Sometimes, talking to others can help you clarify your thoughts and get advice. Seek professional help. If negative psychological reactions persist and affect your quality of life, consider seeking professional help from psychotherapy or counseling. It's important to remember that this is a gradual process and everyone will have upturns and challenging moments. Giving yourself time and patience and finding what works for you can help build stronger mental health. Release negative emotions. Source: Yahoo News. According to surveys, people who know how to relax are better able to cope with stress, which can lead to anxious emotional reactions. Since opposite emotions don't occur at the same time, you won't feel anxious when you're relaxed. Before learning to relax, you must first learn how to sweep away the negative emotions hidden in your heart and achieve psychotherapy release, and take away the unwanted negative feelings and emotions. In fact, just like computers, we all have a trash can in our hearts for putting waste, but many people only know how to put waste in it without cleaning it out, bringing the waste from the past into the present and into the future. Here is a simple exercise to cleanse the mental trash can. 1. Find a quiet place without being harassed for 5 to 10 minutes. 2. Sit down and make yourself comfortable and relax. 3. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then try to relax. 4. Prepare a piece of white paper, a pen, and a trash can. 5. Write down unwanted feelings or emotions on white paper to release negative emotions such as anger, anxiety, distress, and sadness. 6. After writing, tear up the paper or hold it into paper balls and throw it into the trash can to take away all the emotions hidden in your heart. 7. Continue to relax for a few more minutes and repeat a very direct suggestion to yourself in your mind. For example, instead of saying "I will not be stressed," say "I always feel comfortable and relaxed" and repeat it quietly in your mind. Propose it several times until you really feel it. Then continue to relax, imagine yourself reaching your goal, and then open your eyes, wide awake with a sense of relief and joy. You can do the above exercises several times. This process seems simple, but the energy is very powerful. Allow yourself to have 15 minutes of meditation time every day. After spiritual cleansing, you will find that your mood will become calmer and your body will be more relaxed. The nameless swelling and pain will be eliminated, and you will be more enthusiastic about life. Only in this way can you truly enjoy life and enjoy life. 14th. Basic base desires. Source: ChatGPT. Basic underlying desires usually refer to human instincts and basic biological needs and desires. These underlying desires are directly related to survival and reproduction, and are usually summarized into 2 levels, physiological and psychological. Here are some common basic underlying desires. Food and water. The most basic needs for survival include obtaining enough food and water. Hunger and craving are powerful driving forces in living things to stay alive. Shelter and security. Humans need a relatively stable and safe living environment, including shelter and the ability to protect themselves from external dangers. Sexual needs. Biologically, reproduction is a basic purpose of life, and sexual needs are the basic desires related to it. Social needs. Humans are social animals, so social interaction and relationships are critical to both mental health and survival. Social needs include close relationships, friendships, and a sense of belonging. Self-protection. This involves the protection and self-defense mechanisms of oneself, including protection against threats to the body and mind. Exploration and learning. Curiosity and the pursuit of new knowledge can also be viewed as a basic desire that helps satisfy understanding and mastery of the environment. Self-esteem and respect. People have an inherent need to be respected, recognized, and accepted, which is also a basic social desire. These basic underlying desires are shaped by both biology and culture and provide humans with the basic motivations needed for survival, reproduction, social interaction, and psychological well-being. On the basis of satisfying these lower-level desires, people can pursue higher-level needs, such as self-realization, achievement and spiritual pleasure. Source: Wikipedia. Hierarchy of needs theory is a psychological perspective proposed by psychologist Abraham Maslow in his 1943 paper A Theory of Human Motivation, published in the journal Psychological Review. Maslow later expanded this idea to include his observations of humans' natural curiosity. His theory is similar to many other psychological theories of human development, some of which focus on describing the stages of human growth. The theory is a classification system designed to reflect the universal needs of society as its basis before progressing to more acquired emotions. The hierarchy of needs is divided into deficit needs and growth needs, and two key themes addressed in the theory are individualism and need prioritization. Although the theory is often shown in illustrations as a pyramid, Maslow himself never created a pyramid to represent a hierarchy of needs. The hierarchy of needs is a psychological concept and an assessment tool, especially in education, healthcare, and social work. Hierarchies remain a popular framework in sociological research. Additionally, the hierarchy of needs is used to study how humans are intrinsically involved in behavioral motivations. Maslow used terms such as physiological, safety, belonging and love, social needs or esteem, self-actualization, and transcendence to describe the generally moving patterns of human needs and motivations. This means that, according to the theory, each previous stage must be satisfied by the individual in order to generate motivation in the next stage. Hierarchies have been used to explain how effort and motivation are related in the context of human behavior. Each of these individual levels contains a certain number of internal feelings that must be satisfied in order for the individual to complete their hierarchy. The goals in Maslow's hierarchy are to reach the level or stage of self-actualization. Despite being widely used and researched, Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory lacks conclusive supporting evidence, and the validity of the theory remains controversial in academic circles. One criticism of the original theory, which has been modified into an updated version of the theory, is that the original hierarchy stipulated that lower levels must be fully satisfied and achieved before higher levels can be pursued. There is evidence that levels continually overlap with each other. Other criticisms include the place of gender in hierarchies, individualistic assumptions in the theory, and the lack of consideration of regional differences in culture and resource availability. 15th. Reincarnation. Source: ChatGPT. Reincarnation means that life is reincarnated after death and continues to cycle through different life forms. This concept is mentioned in many religious and philosophical systems, and is especially common in Hinduism, Buddhism, and certain sects of Hinduism. The main idea of reincarnation includes the following points. Rebirth after death. After a life dies, its soul or consciousness is reincarnated into another life form. This process of reincarnation is endless and forms a cycle of reincarnation. Karma. The direction of reincarnation and life circumstances are related to individual karma. Karma is accumulated by an individual's actions, thoughts, and words, which affects his or her future life. Liberation, moksha, nirvana. The goal of reincarnation is to achieve liberation in the cycle of life and death, that is, to transcend the cycle and no longer be restricted by life and death. In Buddhism this is called nirvana, in Hinduism this is called moksha. Classes of life. There are classes between different life forms, which may include humans, animals, plants, etc. An individual's karma determines the form of his or her reincarnation. The meaning of reincarnation. Reincarnation is regarded as the growth and learning process of the individual soul. Through the continuous cycle of life and death, the soul has the opportunity to accumulate experience, clear karma, and ultimately achieve liberation. The idea of reincarnation is described in detail in the classical texts of Hinduism, and similar ideas are found in Buddhism. However, different religious and philosophical systems may have different understandings and interpretations of reincarnation. Source: Wikipedia. Samsara, Romanized, Sasra, meaning world. The concept of reincarnation and the cyclical nature of all life, matter, and existence is a fundamental belief in most Indian religions. It means aimless drifting, wandering, or the cycle of worldly existence. The concept of reincarnation is a theory of thought that believes that life will continue to experience life and death in different appearances and forms. In the East, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism recognize this idea. In Europe, there is the Greek philosophy of reincarnation, such as Pythagoras and Plato, and Druidism. As a religious experience, it is considered the world's another kind of reality, an extension of the world known to the senses. Reincarnation is associated with the karma theory of many Indian religions, such as Brahmanism, Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, etc. Emancipation from reincarnation, known as nirvana, has always been the core of the spiritual pursuit of Indian cultural traditions and is also the core of their internal spiritual pursuits. The core of the disagreement. 16th. Let go of desires, let go of attachments. Source: Buddhist Guanyin Charity Association. According to Mahayana scriptures, troubles are divided into 3 categories, each of which is immeasurable. The first category is called the trouble of ignorance. Ignorance is the loss of wisdom, the loss of self-nature, and the failure of wisdom to appear. Without wisdom, you don't know anything, and you are ignorant. You know what you know, and you don't know what you know. The second kind of trouble is called dust trouble. Dust is a metaphor, that is, there are too many, like dust and sand. The third major category is called seeing, thinking, and troubles, which is to put it crudely. What is seeing? We got it wrong. We thought wrong. We have seen and thought wrong about ourselves and the environment. If you see or think wrong, you say the wrong thing, and if you do the wrong thing, it is called karma. Karma determines retribution. Good karma has good consequences, and evil karma has bad consequences. In the 6 paths, the consequences of good and evil karma are very obvious. These 3 kinds of troubles have all been put aside by Buddhas and Tathagatas, and there are no obstacles for them. Therefore, the wisdom, virtue, ability, and good qualities in their own nature are all present. They are originally there and are not learned. With these worries and obstacles, our nature has not been lost, and there is no loss at all. It is just that it has not appeared before me, and I can't get it now. How to get it? The Buddha made it very clear that if you let go of your attachments, you will get a part of it. We are no longer attached to all dharma in the world and beyond. As long as people are not attached, they can always obey all sentient beings and rejoice in merits and virtues. Because of my attachment, I don't cooperate with others and I can't just go along with it. If you can go along with it without attachment, you will be at ease and you can really practice. If you have serious attachments, you will not be able to cultivate yourself. There will be obstacles everywhere. Even if you want to cultivate, you will not be able to succeed. There are no external factors. You must know that the factors of success or failure are all your own. Where do you start learning Buddhism? From the beginning of teaching the scriptures, you must first become enlightened, understand it, and let go of the obstacles. There is a reason why I should let go of my desires, why I should let go of fame and wealth, and why I should let go of myself. If you don't understand these principles, you won't be able to let go. If you can't let go, you will have obstacles. If you study Buddhism, you won't get the benefits of Buddhism. What you can get is just like Mr. Liao Fan, and you can't let it go. What you get is just a little wealth and honor in the human world. After life and death, there is no distinction between the three realms. You don't get the true joy of the Dharma in Buddhism. What you get is fame, wealth, and honor. So what you cultivate is blessings, and what Mr. Liao Fan cultivates is blessings, not merit. He didn't put me down. It was a merit that I let go. The lowest one is Sotapanna, which is great. Although it is the minimum, it is the first stage of 10 faiths in Mahayana. Just like the first grade of elementary school, the lowest level in the school, it's very difficult. We can't get what they get. What he gained is the 6 realms of reincarnation. He has not yet emerged from the 6 realms of reincarnation. He has decided not to fall into the 3 evil realms. He only has 2 of the 6 realms, the heavenly realm and the human realm. He will not fall into the 3 evil realms, nor will he fall into the 6 realms. Shura. So the scriptures call them saints. What are saints? He did what most people couldn't do. And in the 6 realms of reincarnation, he has a time limit. We have no time limit. We are pitiful. There is no time limit, but he has a time limit. After traveling back and forth between heaven and earth 7 times, he will become an Arhat, and once he becomes an Arhat, he will transcend the 6 realms. Therefore, he has a time limit in the 6 realms, while ordinary people have no time limit in the 6 realms. The practice of Buddhism is nothing more than seeing through and letting go, as Master Zhangjia told me in his early years. This is true and not false at all. As long as you see through it and let it go, your destiny will change immediately. Why? We come to this world as karma. We have done some good deeds in our past lives and obtained human bodies. We also studied Buddhism in our past lives. There are seeds of Buddha in our alaya. We will continue to practice Buddhism after encountering it in this life. Why continue to practice? The troubles and habits have not been eliminated, and there is no further letting go, so the effort is ineffective. What should I do if I am unable to do so? It would be terrible if we still engage in reincarnation. In one reincarnation, I forget what I have cultivated in this life and cannot remember it at all. If I encounter it again, I will have to start from scratch. Isn't that what happens in our lives? 17th. Correct understanding of worries. Source: ChatGPT. Understanding worry is an important topic in psychology and philosophy. In Buddhism and other Eastern philosophies, there are also unique insights into the understanding and processing of troubles. Here are some ideas on understanding worries correctly. Buddhist perspective: Buddhism believes that troubles are part of human suffering, dukkha, and are one of the fundamental causes of suffering and dissatisfaction. The Buddha taught the 4 truths, one of which is the truth of suffering, which states that suffering in life stems from desire, attachment, and ignorance. By understanding and transcending these defilements, one can achieve nirvana, liberation, and inner peace. Psychological perspective: in modern psychology, distress is seen as part of emotional distress, psychological stress, and maladjustment. Psychotherapeutic approaches, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and mindfulness-based therapies, often involve helping individuals identify, understand, and deal with distress to promote mental health and well-being. Cognitive perspective: cognitive psychology emphasizes the influence of thoughts and beliefs on emotions and behavior. People's troubles can come from negative thought patterns and self-talk. By recognizing and transforming these negative perceptions, people can reduce the impact of distress. Mindfulness perspective: mindfulness is a way of paying attention to your current experience without judging it. By cultivating mindfulness, people are able to observe their troubles without being distracted by them, thus reducing the intensity of their emotions. Emotional intelligence perspective: emotional intelligence emphasizes understanding and accepting emotions and responding to them in a more calm and rational way. This includes learning to deal effectively with worries rather than being overwhelmed by them. In general, understanding worries properly involves deeply observing one's inner state, accepting it, and learning to deal with it effectively. This can be achieved through a combination of psychology, philosophy, meditation, and other spiritual practices. Source: Buddhist Disciple Library. Bodhi refers to the wisdom of enlightenment. The Sanskrit word bodhi is a noun transformed from the verb bud, which means knowledge or awareness. It means wisdom, knowledge, and awareness. The old translation is also translated as Tao. Bodhi is the fundamental concept of Buddhism. Buddhism mainly explains the content of Bodhi and the practical methods of attaining Bodhi. The object of worship in Buddhism is the enlightened being who has achieved Bodhi, that is, the Buddha. The so-called afflictions are Bodhi tells us that afflictions and Bodhi are not two completely different things. What are the worries? In essence, it is just a thought and a delusion, and its occurrence cannot be separated from the combination of many causes and conditions. When we cannot see clearly these causes and conditions, troubles arise. If you can maintain wisdom and observation amidst the many causes and conditions, troubles will never arise. Therefore, the key to whether troubles will become bodhisattva lies in awareness or not. If you are not aware, you are troubled; if you are aware, you are bodhi. Troubles never leave our present thoughts, and the same is true for bodhi. But when troubles arise, bodhi is covered; when bodhi appears, troubles disappear. 18th. Meditation. Source: ChatGPT. Meditation is a practice that focuses and calms the mind, often involving specific breathing techniques, focus points, or techniques for awareness of the present state. Meditation is widely used in psychology, medicine, and spiritual practices and has proven benefits for physical and mental health. Here are some common forms of meditation. Mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation comes from the Buddhist Vipassana meditation and emphasizes awareness and acceptance of the present moment. Meditators focus on their breathing, body sensations, or surroundings, and learn to observe internal and external experiences without judgment. Concentration meditation. The goal of concentration meditation is to keep the mind focused, usually on a specific object such as breath, sound, or a point of light. This helps develop focus and inner peace. Loving kindness meditation. Loving kindness meditation is about cultivating love and compassion for yourself and others. Meditators focus on sending positive blessings and wishes to promote spiritual joy and empathy. Body scan meditation. Body scan meditation involves focusing your attention on different parts of the body, gradually relaxing and becoming aware of body sensations. This helps reduce physical tension and improve physical and mental health. Walking meditation. Walking meditation is a form of meditation performed while walking, emphasizing awareness of walking and breathing. This helps incorporate meditation into your daily routine. Music meditation. By listening to music, especially those that have a meditative and relaxing effect, people can achieve a state of peace of mind. The practice of meditation can improve stress, anxiety, and attention deficit while promoting mental and physical balance. Whether you are a beginner or experienced, you can find the form of meditation that works best for you. A consistent meditation practice can provide long-term physical, mental, and spiritual benefits. Source: Wikipedia. Meditation, English, meditation, is a mental exercise method often used in yoga. In Buddhism and Taoism, it is called meditation or zazen. It can be roughly divided into two methods. The first is to focus on one place without moving, such as focusing on the chakras on the body, mantras, or candle light in front of the body, etc. The second is to mentally visualize specific patterns and scenes remaining unchanged, such as complex mandala patterns, sequential color and scene changes, guru and god patterns, etc. Usually, the results of the first practice must be obtained before proceeding to the second practice. Any kind of visualization or concentration has its own specific effects and physical and mental changes, so it is necessary to rely on the guidance of an experienced teacher. Taoism also has meditation methods such as keep the spirit independently, the muscles are as one, the spirit does not scatter, accumulate the spirit and concentrate the mind, keep oneness, Zensai, sitting and forgetting. The word meditation is also used to translate mindfulness, also known as mindfulness, in psychology. 19th. Trouble type. Source: ChatGPT. Worry is a negative emotion or mental state that can affect an individual's thinking, emotions, and behavior. Different types of distress may arise from different situations, psychological processes, or life events. Here are some common types of annoyances. Anxiety, a feeling of worry and fear about the future or uncertainty. Anxiety may manifest itself in symptoms such as physical discomfort, rapid heartbeat, and difficulty concentrating. Depression, an emotional state of feeling frustrated, helpless, or disappointed with life. Depression may be accompanied by a pessimistic view of the future and a negative sense of one's own worth. Anger, an emotion usually associated with a feeling of dissatisfaction or dissatisfaction with someone or something. Anger can manifest as emotional agitation, angry outbursts, verbal attacks, etc. Stress, psychological stress caused by external pressure, work demands, interpersonal relationships, etc. Stress can lead to physical discomfort, anxiety, and mood swings. Envy, feeling dissatisfied with what others have or achieve. Comparing yourself to others may lead to feelings of envy. Dysphoria, a feeling of restlessness and irritability caused by an inability to be satisfied or achieve goals. Shame, feeling ashamed and uncomfortable about one's behavior, appearance, or certain experiences. Shame can affect self-esteem and self-confidence. Loneliness, feelings of frustration and loneliness due to a lack of close relationships or social connections. Loneliness can lead to emotional drift and mental health problems. Sense of loss, disappointment and frustration at the loss of someone, something, or an unfulfilled goal. Anxiety, an emotional state of excessive worry and fear that may be accompanied by physical discomfort. These types of distress may be related to each other, and each person's experience of distress is unique. Understanding the type of distress can help you develop appropriate coping strategies, such as meditation, mindfulness, psychotherapy, or other emotion management techniques. Source: Buddhist Disciple Library. The Tiantai sect calls the turbid troubles thinking confusion, that is, confusion in the mind, which is characterized by the 5 factors of greed, anger, stupidity, pride, and doubt. 5 refers to the 5 kinds of troubles, and blunt refers to the 5 benefits of seeing turbidity. These 5 kinds of troubles have been influenced by life after life, forming solid habits, and it takes a lot of effort to get rid of them. It comes slowly and is slowly removed, so it is called blunt. Because these 5 kinds of troubles can drive sentient beings to confuse and create karma, causing them to suffer in the 6 paths of reincarnation, they are called envoys. These 5 kinds of troubles plus incorrect views, body view, side view, wrong view, view-taking view, and abstinence-taking view, are called the 6 fundamental troubles. The 6 fundamental troubles will give rise to 20 kinds of subordinate troubles, which are troubles that arise along with the fundamental troubles, also called branch troubles or subsequent confusions. Subsequent troubles include 1 anger, 2 hatred, 3 annoyances, 4 confusions, 5 lies, 6 flatteries, 7 arrogances, 8 harms, 9 jealousies, 10 thrifts, 11 no shames, 12 no consciences, 13 unbeliefs, 10 4 are laziness, 15 are carefree, 16 are lethargic, 17 are restless, 18 are forgetful, 19 are not aware, and 20 are distracted. If you want to get rid of your worries, you must first get rid of the fundamental worries. Once the basic worries are eliminated, the worries will naturally disappear. The 6 fundamental troubles are the root of the reincarnation of all living beings. They are like a stake to which a sheep is tied, and all living beings are like sheep. A rope is tied between the stakes and the sheep. The sheep spin around the stakes, and their maximum range of activities does not go beyond this stake. The length of the rope, the further the sheep turns, the smaller the space for movement. The same is true for all living beings. The smaller the troubles, the greater the space for activities, the greater the troubles, the smaller the space for activities. Only by uprooting the trouble piles will you have a broader space for activities. 1. Greed. 3 Seasons of Thought says, all suffering arises from greed. Greed refers to the excessive pursuit of wealth, sex, fame, food, and sleep, or unjust stealing, harming the interests of others to satisfy one's own desires, or being stingy with one's own wealth and refusing to benefit others. The consequences of greed are as stated in the sutras. When you die and fall into the realm of hungry ghosts, you will suffer the retribution of hunger. 2. Anger, that is, anger. Unable to endure all kinds of unsatisfactory situations, he or she becomes resentful or becomes violent and harms others, or when faced with hunger, thirst, cold, or heat, he or she lacks self-cultivation and becomes resentful. The Abhitamsaka Sutra says, when a thought of anger arises, millions of blocked doors will open. The retribution of anger is to die in hell in the future and suffer the consequences of being ugly. 3. Crazy, i.e. stupidity. The 6 fundamental worries are condensed into greed, anger, and ignorance. Greed arises from ignorance, and hatred arises from not getting what you want. Therefore, ignorance and ignorance are the root of the reincarnation of all living beings. Stupidity and ignorance will cause us to have blocked wisdom, be unable to distinguish right from wrong, be unclear about things, have wrong views, slander non-cause and effect, cause confusion and create karma, and incite bitter consequences. The retribution of ignorance is to die and become an animal, to be slaughtered by others. 4. Slowness, that is, arrogance. There are 9 types of arrogance. Slowness, excessive slowness, and condescension are the 3 most common arrogant attitudes. Knowing that others are inferior to oneself, but still showing contempt for others in the heart is called slowness. One is equal to others, but thinking that one is better than others, which is called too slow. Others are better than oneself, although one knows that one is not as good as oneself. Although others still have arrogant thoughts in their hearts, they are called humbleness. All kinds of arrogance lead to arrogance, contempt for others, and inability to live in harmony with others. The consequences of arrogance are the consequences of humiliation. 5. Doubt, that is, doubt. For all good and evil causes and effects, Buddhist truths cannot generate confidence. Suspicion and disbelief will block the good door, breed all kinds of wrong views, and create all kinds of right and wrong evil karma. The above 5 afflictions of greed, anger, ignorance, pride, and doubt are the roots of reincarnation. Annoyance. Annoyance means disturbing, annoyance means confusion, disturbing sentient beings and making them feel uncomfortable, hence the name annoyance. Zen Master Beiji said, as long as there is no hope, worries will naturally disappear. 8. Great Human Awakening Sutra, few desires and no action, body and mind are at ease. It can be seen that if people who study Buddhism want to achieve success, they must work hard on their worries. 20th. Self-abasement. Source, Wikipedia. Inferiority complex, English, inferiority complex, refers to the phenomenon of doubt, uncertainty, and lack of self-esteem about oneself. However, there is currently no unified standard for measuring the severity of this complex. Strictly speaking, inferiority complex itself does not have the standard of good or bad things. The inferiority complex usually exists in the subconscious, which can easily cause the person to overcompensate and lead to amazing social achievements or serious antisocial behavior. Adler defined inferiority complex in Inferiority and Transcendence as, when a person faces a problem that he cannot adapt to or handle properly, he clearly states that he cannot solve the problem, which is an inferiority complex. The term inferiority has been widely used, for example by Sigmund Freud in The Interpretation of Dreams, Alfred Adler in Der Sinn des Lebens, horny in the neurotic personality of our time. However, it lacks a clear enough definition, and its meaning seems to be self-evident when people use it concretely. Assuming for the moment that this problem exists, Ludwig Wittgenstein, it seems that we can consider applying our reason to this problem for which we cannot know in advance whether our reason will apply. Kant, Critique of Pure Reason. 21th. Avoidant personality. Source: Wikipedia. Avoidant personality disorder, AVPD, is a type of type C personality disorder, characterized by excessive social anxiety and social inhibition, fear of establishing intimate relationships despite longing for it, severe feelings of inadequacy and inferiority, and overdependence. Avoidance of sources of fear as a maladaptive response, e.g., self-social isolation. Such individuals often experience fear of negative evaluation, social rejection, a belief that they are socially incompetent and unattractive, and avoidance of social interactions despite strong desires. This type of personality disorder occurs in biological males and females in almost equal proportions. Patients with avoidant personality disorder often stay away from social interactions to avoid being ridiculed, humiliated, rejected, or disliked. They are only willing to interact with others when they are sure not to be rejected. Patients often avoid social interactions because they are worried about being disliked or excluded by others. Take the initiative to end social relationships with others. However, this worry is sometimes just your own guess. Experiencing childhood emotional neglect, especially from parents, or peer rejection increases the chance of developing avoidant personality disorder. However, some people may develop this personality disorder despite not explicitly experiencing bullying or neglect. 22th. Accept yourself. Source: ChatGPT. Accepting yourself is an important mental health process that means recognizing, understanding, and embracing your entire being, including strengths and weaknesses. This attitude of self-acceptance helps build more positive self-worth, improves self-confidence, and promotes a healthier, more balanced life. Here are some suggestions to help cultivate acceptance of yourself. Self-observation: understand your own values, beliefs, and life goals. This helps define who you are and who you hope to become. Accept imperfection: realize that everyone has imperfections and no one is perfect. Accept your flaws and look for opportunities to grow within them. Mindfulness practice: learning mindfulness helps develop acceptance and understanding of the present moment rather than being distracted by past or future worries. Avoid self-criticism: when negative self-evaluations surface, try to change your thinking and view yourself with a more positive and tolerant attitude. Set reasonable expectations: don't set too high or too low expectations for yourself. Make sure your goals are realistic and achievable, and allow yourself room to fail and learn. Seek support: share your feelings with friends, family, or a professional to gain understanding and support. Cultivate self-love: be kind to yourself and take care of your physical and spiritual needs. This includes eating a healthy diet, getting enough sleep, exercising, and getting adequate rest. Learn to let go, learn to release past mistakes and imperfections and accept yourself as a person who is constantly growing and developing. Self-acceptance is a long-term process that may take effort and time. By embracing your whole self, you can build a stronger, more positive self-image to better cope with life's challenges. Source: The Epoch Times. Adler said, "Recognize and accept your own imperfections, recognize and tolerate the imperfections of others." He believes that there is nothing wrong with imperfection. This is what makes people humane and cute. Life is not that difficult. It's you who make life complicated. In fact, life is very simple. In fact, life is not hard or painful at all. It is you who deliberately make your life very hard and painful. Adler gave this example. There are two ways to pass through a door with a height of only 5 feet, about 1.5 meters. One is to walk straight up, and the other is to bend over. If you use the first method, you will definitely hit it. The top of the door. In other words, people who feel that life is very hard and painful are like trying to walk straight through the door, only to hit their heads. If they could bend slightly and walk through, they would be able to avoid the pain in the flesh. But most people will blame the door is too low instead of reflecting on the fact that it is their own fault for not bending. So, what kind of lifestyle forces life to be full of toil and pain? What kind of lifestyle can make life simpler? The answer really cannot be expressed in one line. I'm afraid you have to read this book to understand it slowly. What can be conveyed at this stage is that the current life does not depend on fate and past trauma, but on one's own way of thinking. That's why life can be simpler if you just make up your mind to do it, so stop straightening up and walking through the door, and stop complicating life. Not influenced by other people's evaluations. Accept who you are. Have the courage to accept imperfection. Adler believed that courage is the other side of community feeling. Courage means not giving up the idea of caring about the other person and prioritizing the other person even when faced with difficulties, and using energy to solve problems. On the contrary, when people who lack courage face difficulties, they will definitely put themselves first and abandon the sense of community. People who only think about their own affairs and care very much about other people's evaluations are those who lack courage. Because they care more about other people's opinions than making contributions to others. In contrast, people with courage will not care about the evaluation of others. Even if they do not receive praise and recognition, they will feel satisfied because they have contributed to others. To give the other person courage is to tell the other person that they don't need to care about other people's evaluations, and don't need to deliberately act in a pretentious manner. Let the other person understand that it doesn't matter what others think and you just have to be yourself is to add courage to the other person, which is the same as encouraging him to have the courage to accept his own imperfections. Therefore, you must never put forward conditions to the other party such as long as you can do this, I will agree with you, or if you can't do it, I will not agree with you. Accepting and identifying with the real other person is to bring the other person the best. Courage. You have to value not just your own interests. There are also partner interests. It is more blessed to give than to receive. This is the only way to obtain happiness. Both Adler and his protégé Rudolf Derricks repeatedly emphasized the importance of having a feeling of community. Why? Because this is the only way to be free from troubles and gain happiness. The so-called sense of community is formed by contributing to others. It is a very sad thing to not be able to find a place to live, and no matter how much you complain about it, no one can help. In that case, build it yourself. You must start by contributing to others, gain gratitude from others, receive feedback and support from others, and create a place for yourself in society. The concept of community feeling advocated by Adler is very similar to religions such as Christianity and contemporary self-enlightenment theory. Adlerian psychology has been criticized by past psychologists as unscientific, but if you want to have healthy interpersonal relationships, that is, a healthy life, you absolutely cannot lack a sense of community. Adler's concept has long become common knowledge in contemporary psychology, which is also the reason why Adler's thought is a pioneer that is a century ahead of its time. If you feel that you can't find your own place, don't foolishly ask people around you to understand you. Instead, take the initiative to contribute something to the people around you. In this way, you will definitely find your own place. A person with a sound mind. Don't try to change the other person, but change yourself. Only people with unhealthy mentality. Only then will they try to manipulate the other party and change the other party. We cannot change the past and others, but we can change the future and ourselves from now on. This is my motto as a narrator. It is also Eric, a psychologist who is deeply influenced by Adler and studies interpersonal psychology. Born's quote. It was because of this sentence that my life changed. The point of this idea is that it is useless to pursue the reason of who is at fault. There is no need for a referee at work and at home. Instead of investing time and energy in investigating who is at fault, it is more effective to spend energy on solving the future. Therefore, even if it is your boss, subordinate, or significant other who made the mistake, just focus on what you can do now. If you want the other party to care more, you might as well try to change the way of communication. Instead of just blaming the other party who doesn't know that you are wrong, try to make your words persuasive and win the trust of the other party. Even if a person with a healthy mentality feels that the other party is 100% at fault, he will only focus on what he can do now. On the other hand, people with an unhealthy mentality will only complain about the past, speak ill of others, and constantly emphasize that they are victims in order to gain sympathy, but do nothing themselves. It is self-evident which kind of life will lead to happiness. Neither genetics nor psychological trauma can dominate you. No matter what happened in the past. Only you now can create the future. A murderer was interrogated, "Why did you kill?" He replied, "Because I was abandoned by my parents." Being abandoned by his parents and coming from a dysfunctional family, he became a murderer, which means that it was not his fault. But not all children abandoned by their parents will become murderers. Among them, there are also people who run around in order to help children who are also orphans, so that they will not suffer the same suffering as themselves, and to teach them to be self-reliant. Even if they grow up in the same environment, people can still choose the future according to their own wishes. However, we tend to unconsciously push present problems to the past. I remember when I was a child, my mother was always busy with work and neglected to take care of me, so my personality became so gloomy. If you want to blame it, it's my mother. It's not my fault. Our family is very poor and cannot support me in college. If my family's financial situation was better, I would definitely be able to finish college now and find a better job. Blaming the current unsatisfactory situation on the past environment is just an excuse at best. Should we use past experience as a springboard to open up a future path? Or do you just make excuses, pretend to be a victim, and live a life full of excuses? Only you can decide which path to take. 23th. Compassion and Joy. Source: ChatGPT. Compassion, joy, equanimity, and equality are the so-called four immeasurable minds in Buddhism, also known as the Four Holy Walks or the Four Great Unobstructed Minds. They are a group of important matters involving spiritual cultivation and practice. Concept. These concepts help develop a positive, harmonious inner attitude and promote good relationships with others and society. Loving kindness, metta-compassion is a kind of deep love and care, not only limited to relatives and friends, but also includes all living beings. The practice of compassion involves blessing oneself and others, loving oneself, and wishing others to be happy and well-being. Joy, compassion, karuna joy is a response to the pain and difficulties of others, showing compassion and care. The practice of joy involves looking for opportunities to help others and alleviate their suffering. Sympathetic joy, mudita sympathetic joy is a kind of joy and joy that comes from the success, happiness, and achievements of others. It's not just being happy for your own happiness, but also being happy for the happiness of others. Equanimity, upekkha equanimity is a calm attitude, unaffected by emotional agitation and fluctuations. The practice of equality involves having a peaceful and just attitude toward all things and people. These four immeasurable states of mind are the cornerstones of compassion and compassionate behavior in Buddhism, and have similar concepts in other religions and philosophical systems. By cultivating these hearts, individuals can develop a more positive, compassionate, and tolerant mindset while helping to create a more harmonious social environment. Source: Holy Pulse Life Education Association. There is a saying in traditional Buddhism called the Four Immeasurable Minds, the Four Abiding States of Brahma, which are the basis for the practice of tranquility and vipassana and the foundation for the practice of mindfulness of breathing and breathing. If there is no intention of compassion, joy, and equanimity in the six senses, it will definitely be greed, anger, ignorance, pride, and suspicion. If you are in opposition to others all day long, you will have troubles. Your sleep quality needs to be improved, and you need to enter meditation. The situation is very difficult. If you say that you can only practice tranquility and vipassana without practicing compassion, joy, and equanimity, you will miss the point. Compassion, joy, and equanimity are the foundation for practicing samadhi and vipassana. It is not only the foundation, but also a very important foundation. Without the practice of compassion, joy, and equanimity, it is extremely difficult for you to break the view of self, the view of body. Because the biggest characteristic of the body is to differentiate between each other, you are you, I am me, this is mine, this is not mine, often reacting to opinions and thinking that it is me and not me. If you have such a reaction, it is without compassion, joy, and equanimity, it is impossible to renounce the self-view, self-view. Why do we talk about compassion, joy, and equanimity instead of looking directly at impermanence, suffering, and selflessness, and doing mindfulness with the Dharma seal, mindfulness according to reason? Because this is harder to see, but compassion, joy, and equanimity are in line with human characteristics. We often say that the reason why a person is like a human is that he has compassion, shame, and a desire to practice. Ashamed, I just feel that I am not compassionate enough. Guilty, it means that you feel that you are not compassionate enough in the eyes of others, so you look at yourself through the eyes of others, and feel that you are not compassionate and kind enough to others, and that you are not willing to bear suffering enough. This is called shame. Only when you feel ashamed will you want to practice. Therefore, compassion is a driving force, because compassion will make us feel ashamed, and shame will make us want to practice. Otherwise, why we should be compassionate and why we should practice cultivation are all related to our shame. The feeling of shame comes from the heart of compassion. Without compassion, there can be no real feeling of shame. Feeling ashamed that one cannot be kind to others or not gentle enough to others is called shame. With this practice of compassion, joy, and equanimity, consciousness can be filtered. Compassion, joy, and equanimity are aimed at our gross worries and overcoming our stinginess and jealousy. If gross worries cannot be subdued, there will be no way to eliminate our egotism. Compassion, that is to say, we naturally want to be kind to others, help others reduce their gross worries, and help others practice giving dharma, giving wealth, and giving fearlessly. This is the intention of loving kindness. Not only can one be kind-hearted, but one can also cultivate the virtues of the 10 paramitas in a peaceful nature, personality. Cultivation is not only about changing our knowledge, but more importantly, it is about changing our personality and mental behavior, habitus. After practice, the personality has not changed, it is just a change in concepts, and that is not practice. If your attitude when speaking has not changed, if you are not soft enough, if you cannot smile to others, that is not cultivation. If you memorize many classics in your mind, even if you speak and talk about the classics, as if you are very knowledgeable, that is not cultivation. Cultivation is about speaking. How do you look at people with your eyes? Do you stare at people? Is it offensive? Intention to kill? When you are obedient, do you look at the other person with compassion and joy? We use this to say, have you practiced cultivation? If you can't do this basic thing well, it's all fake. The meaning of compassion is that we have no choice but to see sentient beings suffering but we don't feel the pain. This is human nature. Human nature has no way to see the suffering of all sentient beings without suffering ourselves. Treat people unconditionally and positively. No matter how bad the other person treats us, we should be grateful. We should thank the other person for being restrained and not treating us badly. We should also be grateful to others for being kind to us, because they don't have to treat us so badly. Good. So when people treat us badly, we have to be grateful, and when people treat us well, we have to be even more grateful. You have to keep doing it very firmly. The moon, stars, and clouds of the same style will be appreciated from different angles by everyone. In the same realm, everyone will have different moods. To see a rainbow, you have to stand at a 42-degree angle to see it. If you don't stand at a 42-degree angle, you won't be able to see the rainbow. In every realm, there is a rainbow inside, which is called joyful mind and intention. Flexible casting, you can't do anything better now. Just the best. For a practitioner, every moment is the best. If you continue to do so firmly, you will be happy and intentional. The reason why a person cannot smile is because he feels that the world owes him something. Whether a person can smile or not is very important. The distant mountains are smiling, we laugh, and the realm smiles with us. If we don't smile, the realm follows us. If we don't smile, we laugh, and the world laughs with us. As the saying goes, I see how charming Ching Shan is, so I hope Ching Shan will see me as well. Venerable Mog Alana can still smile when he sees sentient beings in the hell realm with their stomachs broken and intestinal bleeding. This is the most peaceful and relaxing mood. The state is bad enough, we have to approach it with the calmest and most natural mind. Just like compassion, it is also the most natural expression, because you cannot see others suffering without feeling it. One day, if you reach nirvana and are silent, you will be like the sun. It shines naturally, not for anyone. Compassion itself is unrequired, and it is revealed naturally but not for anyone. Equanimity, treat the environment as a mirror, treat every state as a mirror, and have the ability to associate. From this mirror, we can see the imbalance in our hearts. From the realm, we can see that the 5 aggregates are all empty, the 5 aggregates are impermanent, suffering, and selfless. When we see the state, we can see that the 5 aggregates are empty, because you are one-sided. Mirror. If you cannot see that the 5 aggregates are all empty, your consciousness will be filtered and impure. If your consciousness is not pure, it will cause the remaining poisons of name and form, body and mind, greed, anger, ignorance, pride, doubt and distrust of others, yourself, and the truth. Why not believe it? Because he has never been truly compassionate to others, and has never truly experienced compassion, joy and renunciation, he does not believe it. It is very important to be willing to give up your mind and seek common ground in differences. The world is like a mantis stalking a cicada, with the aureole behind. There are all kinds of triangular relationships in the world. If you don't see the world clearly, you will care about it. Buddhism does not tell who is right or wrong, but rather cares about whether one has greed, hatred, or ignorance. If one is not willing to stop thinking about the world, he will never get out of the triangle relationship. Compassion is a kind of feeling that one's softness is not enough, and there is always a feeling of shame, but shame must come from facing it and being able to accept yourself. The world is inherently limited. At the very least, we must do no harm, treat others softly, and help bear the burden if we can. No one has the right to treat others badly or be rude to others. Let go of the standards of the world's people and self, and do everything to get rid of suffering. Live in the moment, seek nothing, return everything to zero, and start over. The past is gone, how should we deal with it from now on? When you cannot be compassionate, you must know how to leave. Leaving is to give each other space. Only with space can there be room for maneuver and start over. Compassion, joy, and equanimity include morality, concentration, and wisdom. The meaning of precepts is that we only do it when we know that it will help each other and will not cause any harm if we continue to do it. We should not do things that cause us trouble, pain and unhappiness. Unless you want to be Ksatagarbha Bodhisattva, knowing that it is a pit of fire and knowing the pain, you still go there. Go ahead to dangers. This is understandable. If this is really the case, and you really go on, you will be more willing to bear the suffering. Precepts not only mean to avoid doing things that make us unhappy, but also to actively do things that make each other happy. This kind of happiness is not the short-lived happiness that ordinary people say, but will make us very happy. Joy, lasting and stable happiness, doing good deeds, and doing good deeds will make us happy and give us a special feeling. We will not be happy when we do bad things. At most, we will secretly say, I have harmed the other person, and I have earned this ill-gotten wealth, but it cannot last long. Because after you have earned, you want to earn more. If you harm others, you will feel uneasy because others can also harm you. The harming heart in this world is very scary. If you are harmful to others, you will be with people who are harmful to others. A compassionate person will naturally be attracted to compassionate people. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. This is the meaning of compassion, joy, and renunciation. It subtly creates another kind of pure world. Why can compassion, joy, and equanimity lead to concentration? Mercy. Just like the earth, it has a kind of commitment and is willing to bear each other's suffering and the suffering of all living beings. For example, when we encounter suffering, we take a deep breath, breathe in the suffering, and breathe in the suffering to feel what the suffering is. It is already suffering, so we should not add to the suffering, but help bear it. This is compassion, and we are willing to bear it, so our hearts will be quiet, and if our hearts are quiet, they will correspond to the 3 Zen states of meditation. Focus on loving kindness and say, someone has to bear the suffering. You will change your mind and think that the reason why he is not treating me well today is because he feels that the world is not treating him well. Today happens to us that we have to bear the suffering of the world that is not good to him. When this burden of attention comes out, the mind will calm down and be absorbed in tranquility. Our mind will be very peaceful and untainted. No matter what kind of suffering sentient beings have, we will be willing to help bear it. No matter how bad others treat me, we can bear it and see that the reason why they are like this is because they are suffering, they are unhappy, and they feel that the world is treating them badly. Not good enough. In this case, we should help bear it and let him feel that there are still people in this world who are willing to help bear his suffering. There are people who don't treat him badly because of this. This is kindness. This kind intention can induce the tranquility and concentration of the mind, which is similar to the concentration of the 3 Zen. Compassion is like water, which allows us to be broad-minded and unobstructed. Being unobstructed means that seeing the suffering of all sentient beings is like seeing oneself suffering. Seeing one's own suffering is also equivalent to seeing the suffering of all sentient beings. Similarly, when we are suffering, it is difficult for us to make others happy. When we see others suffering, it is also difficult for us to be happy, so it is difficult for us to say separately, this is your suffering and my suffering. My suffering is the suffering of all sentient beings, the suffering of sentient beings is my suffering, the suffering of the world is your suffering, and your suffering is the suffering of the world, no distinction. When you see the suffering in the world, you will feel that suffering is indistinguishable from one another, your heart will open up, your mind will become bigger, and you will have a feeling that nothing is hindering you. Always notice that suffering is indistinguishable from one another. I have seen your suffering, and I can't help feeling it. It's hard for others to see my suffering and not feel it either. If we cannot smile, it will be difficult for others to smile when they see us. If others cannot smile, it will be difficult for us to smile when they see us. The sufferings in this world are all in conflict with each other. In the face of suffering, we will have a sense of compassion and will not want to increase each other's suffering. So no matter what we encounter, we will not have conflicts and our hearts will be open. This is a form of mindfulness in the formless realm, a formless boundary of emptiness, and a formless definition of emptiness. Joyful mind and intention. If you focus on joyful intention, you will have no resentment or disgust, and you will be able to take a flexible approach to things. Looking at things from this perspective, we would like to say that we don't dare to get carried away when encountering good things, because we know that it is a kind of impermanence. Encountering bad things is also a test for us, and feeling that this is bad is an entire phenomenon in the world. When we live in this world, we must bear the responsibility and accept it. We can also learn many things from bad states. This is joyful mind and intention. Joyful mind and intention can touch the boundless consciousness of the formless realm. The place where consciousness is boundless is when you really feel that the mind does not distinguish between you and me. At that time, you can enter the place where consciousness is boundless in the formless realm. When the mind is open, the consciousness is boundless. Equanimity and intention, it is stronger than the previous compassion and joy, and it does not distinguish between you and me, and it does not distinguish between inside and outside. Seeing the world, if we can truly make ourselves happy, we can give happiness to others. If we can smile, the world will smile with us. If our hearts can be quiet, the world will follow silence. When you see that there is nothing to fight for in the world, you will be free from hostility and criticism. Being non-confrontational means that if I win and you lose, it will be of no benefit to me. If you win and I lose, it will be of no benefit to you. Slowly come to see that the things that are truly good for me are those that are good to me. Hello, what is really good for you can also be good for me. That is truly good. Otherwise, the good is all fake. There is a kind of opposition to that kind of good. There is relativity, there is competition, and there is competition. You will not be happy, so if you give up your mind and focus on it, you will enter the state of nothingness. If we cannot be compassionate, joyful, and equanimous, we have to choose greed, hatred, ignorance, pride, and doubt. If our mind is focused on compassion, joy, and equanimity, we will not have any uneasiness. To have concentration, the most basic thing is not to have uneasiness. It's difficult to meditate when your mind is uneasy. If you don't have compassion and joy during the day, it will be very difficult to meditate at night. We will think that we resent others, and others resent us. When we think of others resenting us, you say it is very difficult for you to calm down. If we live in a house full of compassion and joy, we will feel protected by the Dharma protector when we meditate. Otherwise, the more silent we are, the more dangerous we will be, and we will naturally have random thoughts. Compassion, joy, and equanimity are a way to protect oneself. Without compassion, joy, and equanimity, it would not be easy to just calm down and meditate. With precepts and concentration, our wisdom can be easily developed, so compassion, joy, and equanimity can help us develop wisdom. What is wisdom? The wisdom taught in Buddhism is to see through the suffering in the world, to see why there is no happiness in the world but there is suffering, and to make the world less painful, that is wisdom. What kind of suffering is there in the world? Suffering includes the suffering of birth, old age, illness, and death. People you like cannot be together, but people you don't like happen to be together. This is suffering. Not getting what you ask for is also suffering. Thinking that the physical body is mine, and using myself and what I have to oppose others is also suffering. Impermanence and variation are also suffering. If we go a little deeper, all desires are suffering. We cannot find happiness in the present moment, it is suffering. If you cannot sit still at the moment, if your mind cannot concentrate, it is suffering. If your body and mind cannot move, it is suffering. According to Buddhism, the body and mind must not be immobile. Being cut off in the middle of a speech, and when you are about to speak, the other person says that he is leaving. This is also suffering. Every change of movement is suffering. If you feel that you are very good at the moment, why do you move? You move because you feel miserable and uncomfortable. Getting up in the middle of sleep to go to the toilet is also miserable. Being woken up by the alarm clock in the morning is also miserable. You are in a hurry to get up and go to work. Encountering a traffic jam is also painful. If you don't feel the pain, it's because your body and mind are gross, so you don't feel the pain. What should I do if it is already so painful? You said, if it is so painful, then I will treat it with resentment. That would be even more painful. If we can say that these sufferings are what I want, it means that you have already encountered them and you cannot escape from these realms, so these sufferings are what we want and you must have them. If you don't want it, you must be able to leave the country and leave willingly. If you don't have the ability to leave, you must accept it happily. It can't be better, now is the best. The state is already bad enough, and you can't add more suffering to the suffering. This is wisdom. Another meaning of compassion, joy, and generosity is that love will be painful if it cannot be unconditional. It will be painful if you want to love but cannot love, and if you love but stick to it, it will be painful. How to deal with emotional problems unless you turn your emotions into compassion and joy. If feelings cannot be transformed into compassion, joy, and equanimity, it means that they are conditional. As long as they are conditional, they can easily change. When conditions change, we will have fear, uneasiness, and pain. We turn it into compassion, and do as much as we can. How the other party treats us is the other party's business. If he cannot be compassionate, he will suffer. If we cannot be compassionate, we will suffer. Therefore, we can only choose compassion, joy, and renunciation. If we cannot be merciful, we must leave the realm. If we cannot leave, we must choose compassion, joy, and renunciation and joyful acceptance. 24th. Kusanagi Sword. Source: ChatGPT. Tsukuyomi usually refers to Tsukuyomi no Mikoto in Japanese mythology, who is the god of the moon. In Japanese mythology, the Kusanagi sword is his weapon. Tsukuyomi is the brother of Amaterasu, but in an incident, he had a dispute with Amaterasu, which led to their separation. This incident is called the Kusanagi incident in Japanese mythology. According to myth, Tsukuyomi's quarrelsome behavior was considered unclean by Amaterasu, who therefore decided to separate him from the divine realm and make him the deity of the moon. The Kusanagi sword is described as the weapon of Tsukuyomi, but sometimes this is not very detailed in mythological narratives. The Kusanagi sword itself may have many interpretations in history and mythology, and is sometimes depicted as a sacred sword associated with mystical powers. Source: Wikipedia. The Aim no Murakumo no Tsurugi sword, Japanese, Aim no Murakumo no Tsurugi, is one of the 3 artifacts in Japanese mythology. It is also known as the Kusanagi no Tsurugi sword, Japanese, Kusanagi no Tsurugi, Yigaki sword, Tasanagi sword, etc. According to the Kojiki, Sumitamano, also known as Susanoo, met Ashina Shikimikoto and Taina Shikimikoto, Nihon Shoki as foot massage and hand massage, in Izumo Kingdom. There were 8 children in total, but 7 of them were dedicated to Yamata no Orokai. They told Sumitaman that the Yamata no Orokai was about to eat their last daughter, Kushida Himai, Japanese Shoki author Ki Inada Hime. Sumu Mingzun agreed to get rid of the Yamata no Orokai for the old couple, but the condition was that Kita Im be betrothed to him. He dressed up as Chi Inada Im and brought 8 barrels of wine to different places. The Yamata no Orokai was tempted by the aroma of wine and put its 8 heads into different barrels to drink. Sumu Mingzun took the opportunity to chop off the head of the Yamata no Orokai one by one with the 10-fist sword called Tianyu Yuzan, and then chopped off its tail. When cutting off the 4th tail, he found a sword in the snake's body, named the sword Amon Kong Yun sword and dedicated it to Amaterasu. Later, during the reign of the 12th Japanese Emperor Keiyoki, the Amon Kong Un sword was acquired by Wa Kenmei. When Wa Kenmei arrived in Suruga country, he was deceived into hunting deer on the grassland. Local warlords burned the grasslands with rockets and killed the horses to prevent him from escaping. Wa Jian ordered the Tian Kong Yun sword to chop grass to clear the way. During this period, he discovered that the Amon Kong Un sword could control the direction of the wind and could survive the disaster, so he named the Amon Kong Un sword Kusanagi sword. 25th. Japan's 3 artifacts. Source: ChatGPT. Japan's 3 sacred objects refer to 3 important sacred objects that symbolize royal power. They are Kusanagi no Tsurugi. This sword is considered an important artifact in Japanese mythology and is one of 3 types of artifacts. It is said to have been found by Sumitamano, the grandson of Amaterasu, among the clouds in Tian Kong. The Kusanagi sword symbolizes force and power. Yata no Kagami, this is a magical mirror and one of the 3 magical weapons. It is said that this mirror was discovered by Tian'er Wuming. The Yata mirror symbolizes wisdom and truth and is also considered a symbol of the royal family. Ama no Murakumo no Tsurugi, this sword is considered the third divine sword, sometimes considered the same as the Kusanagi sword, sometimes considered a different sword. It is related to the wind god Sugyawuzun and was discovered by Tian'er Wuming. These three artifacts are often associated with the origins and authority of Japan's imperial family and also play an important role in many myths and historical stories. The three artifacts are symbols of the Japanese royal family and are also regarded as important symbols of the country. These three national treasures are generally kept at Fushimi Inari Taisha Shrine in Kyoto. It should be noted that these stories have a strong mythological flavor, and historians have doubts about the historical accuracy of these stories. Source: Wikipedia. The three sacred artifacts refer to the three artifacts originating from Amaterasu in the Japanese creation myth and passed down from generation to generation in the hands of his descendants, Japanese emperors. There are still some Japanese who believe that the three artifacts are orthodox symbols representing the emperor, and their status in Japan is similar to China's 9 tripods, the imperial seal, and the Korean peninsula's celestial seal. Initially, the sacred artifacts were kept by the Jibe clan. Later, during the reign of Emperor Jito, the Nakatomi clan proposed 3 sacred artifacts, including Yata mirror, a bronze mirror. It is currently enshrined at Akama Shrine in Shimonoseki City, Yamaguchi Prefecture. A Mankanjiun sword, also known as Kusanagi sword, it is derived from the sword of Sojaman Lord in the creation myth. He obtained it from the tail of the Yamata no Orokai after killing it. According to legend, it is currently enshrined at Atsuta Shrine in Atsuta District, Nagaya City. 8-foot Megatama, also known as Yasaka Megatama, it is a Megatama in the shape of a sharp hook. There is also a legend that there are actually 2 Megatama, but one has been lost. According to legend, it is now enshrined in the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. In Japanese mythology, the Amankong Cloud Sword was obtained by Sumimasen by slaying the Yamata no Orokai. One theory points out that in 1185, Japan's 2 major samurai groups, the Tara clan and the Genji clan, fought a decisive battle in the waters of Danora. The Genji clan won, and Emperor Entu, who was established by the Tara clan, was buried at the bottom of the sea with the Amanchugon sword. There is also a saying that the Japanese warriors brought this sword lies dormant under the sea. However, it is also rumored that the Amankanjiun sword is still offered to Atsuta Shrine. However, it is unknown whether it is the ancient Amankanjiun sword. All 3 artifacts are mentioned in stories related to Amaterasu in Japan's Chronicles of Chronicles, i.e., Kojiki and Nihon Shoki. The sword and mirror included are related to Japanese Shintoism. Yata and hachi were used to describe the size of the artifact based on the length unit at that time, and later evolved into exclusive names. In Japanese history, the 3 artifacts are usually passed down from the previous emperor to the next emperor. Occasionally, they are fought over through various means. For example, during the Southern and Northern dynasties, Emperor Komatsu of the Northern dynasties used the succession rights of the next emperor in exchange to deceive Emperor Kameyama of the Southern dynasties. After handing over the 3 sacred artifacts in his possession, the Southern emperor abdicated. However, the imperial line was succeeded by Emperor Gokomatsu's son, Emperor Shimitsu. At this point, the divisions of the Southern and Northern dynasties in Japan were merged into one. It is said that the original 8-foot Megatama and 2 other artifacts, replicas, are kept in the Imperial Palace today. The Tiankanjiun sword and the 8-foot Kayang Megatama are collectively called the Sword Seal. There are sword seals in the Imperial Palace. It is generally believed that the original 8-foot Kayang Megatama and the form of the Tiankong-yun sword are enshrined. The 3 halls in the inner palace of the Imperial Palace are dedicated to the 8-foot seal. The shape of the mirror. In his article The Teaching of Shinto, Hayashi Reizan, a Japanese Edo Confucian, combined the royal way advocated by Confucianism with 3 artifacts. The mirror represents wisdom, the jade represents benevolence, and the sword represents courage. The three virtues of wisdom, benevolence, and courage are the ideological connotation of the royal way. If a king governs the country with these three virtues, the royal way will be the divine way, just like a mirror is used as the sun, a jade is used as the moon, and a sword is used as a star. When the three are ready, heaven and earth will be bright. Conclusion. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it never does.